Hey, I'm going to be showing you how to achieve this look for your logo or whatever material you want to put in it, I suppose, in TouchDesigner. So you can see it's very layered. There's particles moving multiple different ways, going everywhere. The text has a bunch of layered effects on it. There's these like shimmering boxes of stuff. I'm gonna break all of that down for you. So real quick, this is just the size of the network. None of my projects actually look like this when I'm making them. I organize them for the videos because they look really bad if I don't. So yeah, don't be worried if when you make stuff it doesn't look like the network is beautifully arranged or anything. I just do this because the network looks really bad normally. So anyway, start with a box SOP and then connect that to a transform SOP if you want. You can change the size of things, hold down the value and then just change it and then get something different if you wish. I didn't alter anything. Then connect it to a particle, and then in the particles tab, make sure that you set the birth to 5,000 at least. You could go lower. I just think 5,000 tends to work the best. Some people do 10,000, some people do 3,000. I think 5,000 works the best. And then after you do that, grab an audio file of your choosing. Using the audio file in Chop. I'm just using the default TouchDesigner audio. Then connect it to an audio analysis, which you can get from the tools section under the palette on the left-hand side of the screen. You just drag it in. And then I only have low enabled, and I'm just using a select to modulate. I don't know why this isn't playing. Just cut that, doesn't matter anyway. I'm using just the low end information to modulate stuff just because I find that it works the best. You can use mid, you can use high, you can use whatever you want. I just find that the low end has the best variety and the best lows and highs. I don't typically use kick, snare, or rhythm because it's just an on-off 0-1. And I'm looking for a little bit more dynamic range within the numbers. So that's why I use low the most. So what you're gonna do is you're going to connect low onto, whoops. You're gonna connect low onto the mass and onto the alpha speed. Just because, as I said, we want to give it some movement. And that's why the network's going all crazy. In forces, what you're going to want to do is connect an LFO chop to all three of the external forces to make it have even more movement. I didn't change anything in this LFO. It's just the default settings. Just wanted to give it some movement. After that, you're going to connect it into the standard render setup of GeoCam Light Render. You can add a material if you want. I mistakenly applied it to my camera. It should be on the Geo, but on the Geo with point sprite, it just gets really bright. And if you like that, that is totally fine. I didn't want it to be as bright because it is passing over the logo, some of these particles. Anyway, after you have made your entire render setup, you're going to want to connect this into a bloom. And as you can see, there's some movement going on with the bloom, and it is yet again the low end information from the select chop. So if you missed it earlier, all you have to do that is make sure you have a select connected to your audio analysis, and then drag, when this is in viewer active mode, drag the low onto the parameter that you want and just do chop reference. And that'll have it automate based on the value that is showing up here. You should actually mess with the intensity to get the desired look that you want, because it's a very careful process of getting enough light to show up from this bloom, because sometimes you can go a little bit overboard and have too much bloom, and then sometimes it won't show up at all. So my threshold is 0, because if I did it like this, it didn't really show much of anything that I wanted. But if I do this, then I have a lot more stuff happening. More than likely, you're not gonna typically always be on 0 threshold, but yeah, just for the sake of this project and the system that we've built so far, 0. And so from there, I connected it into a null just to, make sure that I can connect things from it in a safe way. People call nulls the safe top, I guess. People just keep referring to connecting nulls as doing this for good measure, so I just started doing it as well. And then from the null, I connected this to a limit, and you can copy my quantization settings here, or you can use your own if you wish. Either way, I just wanted to get this pixely look, which is responsible, if I can grab this, it's responsible for these sort of box things that you're seeing. So the way that I did that is I also added a movie file in. The content in here doesn't necessarily matter too much. So you don't really need to have these files prepared, separate movie files. You can use whatever, like these are just standard TouchDesigner video files. I connected this into an edge just because I wanted to extract the edge information, and then I put this into a comp. And if you've seen my other videos, I love comps. I love the composites. But I added a constant so I could cycle through the menus, and I landed on luminance difference. And from there, I also brought in the one video file that I did prepare, which this was done in After Effects. I just made one of my logos have this sort of breathing glass look to it. And so I combined these in another comp and changed it to inside luminance, so you can see that the shape and some of the content inside the logo and of the logo have basically fused with the information from this comp. This RGBA does nothing, so ignore that. I connected an edge afterwards, and then from this edge I connected it into a bloom, so it made it look a little bit cooler. Didn't know you could do that. Yeah, connected it to a bloom. And again, this is sort of to your taste. You can copy these settings if you've been copying everything else so far, but realistically, you should be playing with these values yourself to get the desired look that you want. And if you don't know what that is, make it look similar to what you see here. So before I continue from here, I'm going to go back because there was a second connection from this bloom into another null for good measure, and then into a comp along with an image I made a year ago, I think. Just this sort of like glitchy texture looking thing. So I combined those into a comp just to make these particles sort of reveal some glitchy, blocky graphics. And it's just on the standard mode multiply, so there's no constant here for me to cycle through menus. And then from there, I combined it into a comp with a scan texture and a whole bunch of other stuff. So back to this section. From this bloom, I connected it into a null and into a comp. And the other materials inside this comp are a scan texture with some chains that I added, and then another standard TouchDesigner video file connected into an edge into a bloom. And then I set the mode to darker color because it gave me this really cool looking texture on the logotype that was a lot different from the other one. And then I combined both of these into another comp and then put that on hue because I really liked the colors that this gave, and I really liked how it retained the shape well of the letters and the whole shape of the actual text. Sorry, someone called me and I didn't want to answer. From there, I connected it into an HSV adjust to give it this sort of night mode green almost, if you've seen like those night vision goggles. And then I connected that with this scan texture to give it those lines. It's the same use that I use it for when I Photoshop things. It's just to give it that sort of screen look to it, that old screen TV, where you can visibly tell that there's a screen effect applied. And to do that with this comp, I set it to reflect using this constant, but there's different blend modes that you can try and apply to your liking. You don't have to do everything exactly as I do it in these tutorials. I think that you should sort of mess around on your own and do what you want, but if you want to copy things exactly, that's okay too, because that's how I learned how to use this program and still learn how to use this program. So from there, I connected the final comp from here, the final comp from this network with the glitch texture, and this scan texture into this comp. And then I got this purpley green effect because I set it to chroma difference. And I'm not normally a huge fan of purple green, but I wanted to mess around. And then I put it in a level, and I dropped the high A to 0. So if you ever have like a black background or just like black content that you want to get rid of, you just put on a level, turn down the high A in the RGBA section, and then you're good. And then I put it into an HSV adjust because I inevitably, because of my own taste, was like, I'm not messing with the purple green, let's change it. So I changed it to this sort of red, orangey blue. Reminded me a lot of the Boss Rush cover by Usao. And so I thought it looked good, and so I kept it. And then I added an RGBA delay, very minimal delay on all of these. And then from there, I connected it into another HSV adjust because I changed my mind apparently. And then if you go all the way back here to the beginning of the project, from the render, there is a second stream that's all the way down here. And so it's a bloom, which bloom level and ramp glow level are both affected by the low end information of the TouchDesigner audio file here. And then I connected it into an HSV adjust. And then I connected both of these, so that HSV adjust and that one, into this comp, and then put it on lighter color because that's the look that I wanted. And then I put it back into an RGB key so I could get the black background back, just because I wanted to have a backdrop for this, but I didn't think that anything else was going to really look good, and I didn't have any like 3D worlds prepared. So I just put on a black background, and then I adjusted the colors again, and that is what you see here. So you can see some of the tree branches from, where is it? From this file showing up over the sea. So if you don't like how it looks, you can always just change whatever this video is, and you can adjust the strength of edge information and stuff like that. But I thought it looked good, so I kept it. That's pretty much it for the tutorial. It's a pretty standard network that I like to use. It's just a bunch of particles going into a bunch of comps. But I think that this is a cool way to display your logo instead of just like regular flat whatever you made. Yeah, if you have any comments or questions concerning this tutorial, please feel free to let me know. I will absolutely try and resolve any problems that that you may have, because this is kind of a confusing network, just because there's a lot of back and forth, because you make this section and then you make here, and then oh, you have to go down here and make this section, but actually you also have to go up here, and then once you go from here to, you know, like, it's just really confusing and convoluted. So I don't blame you if you got confused. So yeah, let me know if you need anything cleared up, and I will absolutely get that going for you. Thank you.